Are you ready to transform your life from the inside out? Join Tasha Young on Elevation Nation, your guide to total wellness and personal evolution. You are about to discover powerful strategies for healing across 7 essential dimensions: physical vitality, emotional balance, mental clarity, financial freedom, social connection, sexual wellness, and intellectual growth. This is more than self-help. It's self-elevation. Watch Elevation Nation with Tasha Young, exclusively on Black Westchester magazine, the news from the Black point of view. Your journey to wholeness starts now.
Okay. All right. Well, it was so good seeing that commercial. I was excited, like, oh my God, I'm going. Oh my goodness. Anyway, welcome everybody. Thank you for attending our show today. This is Elevation Nation, where we look at ways to level up, elevate ourselves, ways to get from where we are today to where we want to be in the very near future. Yes. And one of the things that we talk about, as you all know, it's all about wellness. It's all about, how are we elevating ourselves? And one of those ways that is very near and dear to my heart is how am I faring socially and how am I faring in my financial health? And the intersection of that comes with a lot of different stakeholders, right? So right now, socially, we are looking at our government do leaps and bounds as far as changes, and things that we have been recognized are changing and maybe are not as recognizable. So with that, I brought in community stakeholder liaison Yolanda Durant from the Internal Revenue Service.
Yeah, the IRS.
The big boys.
That's what I'm talking about.
The big boys
Where's my
and girls.
money?
So let me just talk about Yolanda for a minute. I met her through Kobe Jenkins, friend of the show and friend in my heart. She is an entrepreneur, small business owner, and she brought in Miss Durant to talk to her colleagues in small business, entrepreneurs. So I'm just going to read a little bit about your bio, Yolanda, and then introduce you and ask you a couple of questions. So Yolanda Durant has been with the Internal Revenue Service since 2012. And prior to joining Communication and Liaison Division as a stakeholder liaison, my whole screen just went blank. Okay, so prior to joining as a stakeholder liaison, Yolanda held several positions in the IRS's Senior Individual Taxpayer Advisory Specialist, Tax Compliance Officer, Intake Advocate for the Taxpayer Advocate Department, as well as Customer Service and Collection Representative. So as a stakeholder liaison, she builds and maintains beneficial relationships. She facilitates communications and coordination efforts among public and the private sector. Yolanda is a 2006 graduate of York College of the CUNY, City University of New York, and she earned her Bachelor of Science degree in accounting. Yolanda obtained her MBA degree in e-business and technology from Columbia Southern University in 2011. And in 2012, Yolanda enhanced her problem-solving skills by obtaining a Six Sigma Green Belt certification. You got to tell me all about that.
Okay.
Yeah, what's that? Martial arts?
Yeah, what is that?
It stems from that, but so it actually stems from Ford production line. It's a model that it was engineered for production lines to make sure that they were always changing and motivating and change their mission and vision. But now it has produced into all businesses. So we try to go in and we problem solve, we find the pros and cons to certain things and help develop.
Okay,
great.
All right, so it's about productivity.
Pretty much,
Streamlining. Okay. And then the last thing is her quote, which is, "Art is my life, my passion, and my therapy. Painting, drawing, creating, and dancing is what I live for. And being a part of stakeholder liaison provides me with the option to share my work and creative journey with the world." So without further ado, Yolanda Durant, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me. You know, I'm always here to help and share information.
Yeah. So, going right into things, we are heading into tax day, which is next Tuesday, April 15th. And in your opinion, like what's different this year with tax day, if anything? Is this year different than any other tax year?
I would say the big difference is we have direct file. Most people are unaware that we have direct file and that you can do that by yourself.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And
Are you getting all that feedback or just me?
I'm not getting any. Let me see if I'm going to mute myself and let's see if it's better.
All right. Yeah, that sounds a little better. Yeah. All right. So we have our direct file program. It's in the second year. We are in New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, 25 different states, but our whole tri-state area is available. It's a free software that you can use on your own to file your taxes. Your income does matter and the type of tax returns. It's just starting. I like to say it's still crawling. It hasn't learned to walk yet. So if you're doing like itemized deductions or Schedule C, or SE, it cannot handle those calculations yet. But for first-time filers, students, things in that manner, it's probably a good way to learn how to do your taxes.
And how is it helpful? Like, how is it user-friendly?
So it's just like any other software most people have probably used. It goes through a series of questions. You input your information. You do need to have an ID Me account. And it's the same account that you would use to check your transcripts, make a payment, or with any other federal agencies. So it's fairly interactive. It's easy to go by. And it's just, we'll have it because you did it with us.
So, Damon, just to bring you up to speed, I asked her what was different about this year's filing than any other years. And she said the e-file.
It's called direct file.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is our new free software to file your taxes.
And I just wanted to get in there to see if you had any questions, Damon, regarding the e-filing system or.
No, I don't. I send my information to my homegirl in Atlanta and just pay her, and she tell me what I'm getting back. I don't do none of them programs or anything like that. So, I'm just here for the conversation, but I think it's great that I'm not an advocate of doing your taxes on your own.
Okay.
Absolutely not. No, I'm terrified. That's something I don't even want to do. I don't want to press a button. I don't know. I'm good.
I try to educate people to make them comfortable. Whether you hire someone or not, you should still know what's going on there.
Right.
Because if you're audited, it's up to you to justify those numbers.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I can't, I did. Yo, you know what's great? AI is great now because you can just download your bank statements and upload them to AI and ask the right questions, and it just gives out all the information. It makes it a lot easier for me, and if you have a business, to separate all the payments and the money and the totals of the money's going in and the totals of the money's going out. And I think AI is just like changing people's lives. I don't want to see no Terminator stuff, but I want to, as far as helping us, or helping, productivity, I think AI is great, even for taxes. Yeah. Even if you're trying to get all your numbers together and it totals it for you and it does everything and it breaks it down. I mean, it's great. And it made this year, it just made it a lot easier to send the information to my home girl that does the taxes.
Right. That's a good point, especially for small business owners to keep track, record keeping, because that's where they struggle because they're so busy doing the job, they're not realizing everything else they need to do.
Absolutely. So, one question, what's going on with the IRS? Is he firing everybody? What is Trump doing?
I have no idea. I am here. I'm accounted for. I am here. I am talking. So it's just one day at a time. I feel like we're all just here and we're watching the news just like everyone else.
Really?
Wow.
So it's not as bad. Is it as bad as they're reporting with the government workers, or is it, it's just all right? We're just going to see what's going to happen. It's a new administration, and changes come with every new administration.
Right? Exactly. There are always going to be changes, and we're just gonna let the chips fall where they fall. But it's work as usual.
Good.
I have a dramatic flair. Like, is it that you walk in one day and the next day your colleague sitting next to you is gone? Like, is that the atmosphere?
That's very dramatic. I haven't experienced that.
Okay.
Well, that's what they say on the news. It's like you come in like, where's John? Where's John? Elon called him into the office and he never came back.
Right. That's not happening.
I am here. I am Smiles. So I guess I'm still here. That's the best I am. We are here. It's work as usual. I'm always going to do my job.
Like the ones last hired are the ones that are looked at to be let go quick the earliest, right?
Who knows?
Okay.
We will find out when all of you find out.
You know what? But that's just in government. Like even in local government, if they're doing some type of layoffs, it's usually the last hired is the first fired. That's in government. If you ain't got no, if you ain't got no time, you ain't got no time in, and depends that you rolling the dice if they're gonna get to you or not.
Right.
Depending on what numbers that they're trying to bring the department, whatever department, down to. But also, I think buyouts is good. I mean, they reported that they were giving those buyouts, whether it's legal or not. I think that was a great option for people who were looking to leave within a year or two to take the buyout. I wish but they never had buyouts with us. But if they did, I mean, that would be a good option for some government workers if they gave them a buyout, especially if they was looking at the door anyway.
If they pay it. I mean, I think there was, reporting that there were promises made, but there's no funding, and there hasn't been any payouts.
I would not have known.
Right.
Okay. I am still here. I'm in the building.
Right.
I show up and I work.
Okay.
And the check is coming when it's supposed to. Is in the account. That's all that matters.
Okay. So, but to Damon's point about, hiring an accountant, I'm the same. Like, I hire someone to file for me. But my story is, after a while, I couldn't get a response from the person that I hired, and I kept getting notices, and I kept getting all these things in the mail that had to do with my filings. So I was so happy that first of all, I did not know where the IRS office is located until I met you. I didn't even know they had an office. Like, it's not really something that's like, hi, we're the IRS. It's not like that. So I did not know there was an office. I had to rely on a community-based organization to make sure that these resources were provided, to make sure that they even got in touch with the community liaison. I didn't know that existed. And I didn't know how to help myself when I didn't have that paid professional with all of these notices. I mean, because certain filings, lead to other actions, right? So if you are a business owner and you don't file correctly, it could be understood that you have employees. If you have employees, that kicks in another kind of tax responsibility, as well as workers' comp responsibility. So for me, finally, my accountant called me back, and now we're trying to settle everything out. But I learned that I need to know what I'm doing to even check the paid professional.
Right. Well, my mom is one of these avid readers.
Yeah.
And she tells you everything you need to know about the book is on the back cover.
Okay.
The best information in our letters are on the last page.
Okay, tell me more about this.
So that is going to, one, give you your rights. It's going to give you the telephone number for our advocates and a telephone number to make an appointment. So like you didn't know there was an office, but I think everyone starts at the first page and then they work themselves up and they never finish reading the letter.
Let's talk about that. Work yourself up.
Right.
Because there is a psychological, for me, and maybe for other people, there's a psychological response when I hear IRS.
Mm-hmm.
Like I literally go back to the Untouchables and Elliot Ness and you know how they went after Al Capone, and that's how they got Al Capone, through tax evasion. And they have guns. That's where I go.
Okay.
And I don't get to the last page because I'm thinking penalty. I'm thinking punishment.
Mm-hmm. All your rights, your next steps are always on your last page. And normally at the very back is also your rights as a taxpayer. So all of that information is there. It's just most people stop after a couple of sentences.
Yeah.
And also, we also tell you what happens if you owe and you can't pay. All of that information is there.
So what is that? If you owe and you can't pay, like what are the options for someone that finds themselves in that predicament?
Okay. The first thing I say is always file your tax returns, even if you owe. It's better to file, and therefore you're reducing some of those penalties. Your next option is to make a payment plan. They can start as low as $25. You can do it online through our collections telephone number, or you can also do it through a in-person rep. Next, we have a currently non-collectible status, and that does require us to go through more of a financial background and history to see why exactly you cannot pay. It's not going to stop the balance from accruing penalties and interest, but what it does is it stops all those letters that is causing the anxiety. Mm-hmm. If you're already going through something medical or loss of a job, a death, we don't want to add injury. So we'll stop the letters and we'll work out something, maybe 3 months, 6 months, and then you can come back in and make a payment plan. And then we all hear all the advertisement, fresh start, you can actually lower your balances.
Right.
So that is what we call an offer in compromise.
An offering compromise?
Offer in compromise.
An offer in compromise.
Correct.
Okay.
So with an offer in compromise, what you do is you submit a financial statement. You can actually do this through our website to see if you pre-qualify. And then we will settle the terms and we will tell you exactly what that looks like. How much you will owe, one of the payments due, and most importantly, you have to stay compliant.
Okay, offer and compromise. So I'm writing a note for that.
Mm-hmm.
And then
it's a form. Let me see. I believe the form number is a 656, but you can also find it on our website at irs.gov. And businesses can do this as well.
Okay. All right. I like this because the filing deadlines we know is April 15th for individuals, but talk deadlines for businesses, small businesses.
Those deadlines have passed. That would have been March 17th for your 1120s, 1120S, and 1065s. Now, if you have payroll, then you should be submitting your payroll accordingly. Now, the March 17th date is only for those that are calendar filers. If you are a fiscal filer, then of course you have a different deadline.
And what would that be?
So, for example, if you don't go from January to December, then you would be what we consider a fiscal filer, which means you may do from March to April.
Okay.
So then that will determine your filing date. So it would be then 3 months after your fiscal calendar year ends.
Okay. All right. And then if you owe, can you talk about like how to apply for payment programs?
Sure. So one, you can do it yourself directly on our website. We try to advertise those payment mills as one of our scams. It's been a scam for the past 3 years. Those are the companies saying we can reduce your debt pennies on the dollar.
What do you call it? Payment what?
Payment mills.
Payment mills.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So they're the ones telling you that they can settle your account pennies on the dollar.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you have to pay them a fee. Until you fully pay them, they're not doing anything, which means your balance is still growing because of penalties and interest.
Right.
So you can wind up paying them way more money to handle something that you could have just did yourself. But a lot of people are fearful to call us to handle their own accounts.
Right. That fear, that's really, really a big deal. That fear of, the IRS, fear of the mail, fear of, going to jail, fear of not having money to pay. That really has to be dealt with. And each person has their own level of that. You know what I mean? It usually is a higher level when there's less resources.
Right.
So, if you find yourself, not having the resources to pay, it really is a mind exercise to open your eyes and open your heart and open your psyche up to what is available for you. That's like kind of a shift, going from shame, guilt, fear to being open to figuring it out.
Yeah. I mean, another thing is you want to look at if you are a W-2 employee, relook at your withholdings. You want to make sure your withholdings are correct on your pay so that maybe that could be the reason why you actually have a balance.
Let's talk about that though, because two things happened to me like kind of at the same time. I no longer have dependents. And my taxes went up a lot. So I think, if you do have dependents, there's definitely more deductions that you can take, that you can claim for withholdings. But if you're a single person head of household, do you have like the percentage, like the tax? Do you have the tax percentages broken down by single head of household? Like, is there any way to summarize what those?
It's actually inside your publication 17 in the very back. And it will tell you based upon your adjusted gross income for a single head of household, married filing joint, married filing separate, what your taxes would look like.
Okay, and
but for your
17 on the
publication 17 in the back, yes, have all the different tax tables.
So when I fill out a W-9 or a W-2 and I have to put in amount, is that where I could find that amount for that?
So technically your W-4 has changed. We made some changes a couple of years ago.
Right. I'm very confused by it.
So for a person that is single, no dependents, and you would like the maximum withholdings, then only thing you have to do is step 1. You don't fill out anything towards the bottom. You just fill out step 1, and that will put your withholdings at 0, which is where you're taxed the highest. Now, part 2 of your W-4 is if you have 2 or more jobs.
Right.
And where a lot of people mistake, it actually tells you in the instructions for step 2, it's also if you are married filing joint and your spouse has a job.
Right.
It's picking up both incomes. So some people forget to check the box because they're saying, I only have one job. But if you're married filing joint and both of you are W-2 employees, you should definitely be checking the box to make sure the maximum withholdings are taken.
And what if you don't want the maximum withholding?
So then you work through all the different calculations. So step 3 is where you're going to pick up your dependents and other credits. So if you're receiving your child tax credit, earned income credit, credits along those lines, then you'll pick that up in step 3. Step 4 is if you have additional income. For example, if I'm a landlord, I have rental income, I'm receiving dividends, 1099K, you would put that information in. And then you would fill out the worksheet to figure out how much taxes should be coming out. But we also need to remember, the higher the number of withholdings, the less amount of taxes that are coming out. So then you leave yourself open to possibly owing at the end because you didn't pay enough into the system.
So this is where I get confused. Before 2 years ago, you had to put the number of dependents, and now it seems like they want a dollar amount.
Correct. For the credits that you are claiming for those children.
So, but this is what I'm saying. Okay, so
what?
Where do you get the dollar amount? Okay,
because children cost a lot. Children cost a lot. Listen, my
so what you're picking up is, for example, like your child tax credit, which if your child is under 17, is listed right there on the form. That credit is normally around $2,000. So if you have 2 children, you would be putting $4,000 if both child is under the age of 17. So that's where the numbers are being picked up. It's not how much you think it's going to cost to raise them. It's for your child tax credit, additional child tax credit, earned income credit, credits for other dependents.
Right. So you have 2 children under 17. So then you put in $4,000 and that's withholding?
No, that's not withholding. You're just filling out the form in order for you to do your withholding worksheet to get the most accurate number. The easiest thing to do is to do the withholding calculator directly on our website at irs.gov. And you can do it with your last pay stub.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And then it will run through your calculations and tell you approximately how much withholdings you should be taking.
Oh, that's crazy.
And then that's the number you put on your W-4. And then that's
it's
the number.
Not so much a number anymore. It's just you filling out all the dollar amounts. But if you're going to claim 0, then you just do step 1. And most importantly, if you are married filing joint and you check the box for 2 income, your spouse also needs to check the box so that both parties are being taxed the right amount. Or if you have 2 jobs yourself, you need to check that box for both jobs.
That's why I let somebody. That's why I listen to somebody do my taxes, man. I'm not doing it.
It's seriously so confusing.
I'll be audited. Look, I press enter,
right,
and then they be calling my house like, Mr. Jones, come on, man. Like, what are you doing, bro? Like, come on, man. Come on. Delete this. Delete, Mr. Jones.
Yeah, because I remain confused, to be honest with you.
Okay.
But I understand how, like, put it this way, I understand how it's supposed to work, but I don't understand how it works.
Right.
You know, I understand that you're supposed to use a worksheet. They give, suggested amounts based on what is allowable, right?
Correct.
And then you're supposed to work out within that worksheet, or it happens automatically if you file electronically, but you're supposed to work out from that worksheet how much you put in the line, which is
Correct.
line 3.
Right.
Okay, that's where I get lost. Like, how do you get to the amount that you put in line 3? If
You
you're
have to complete the whole entire worksheet,
right.
especially when you have children, other dependents, depending on your filing status and the number of jobs you have.
And I guess back to Damon's point about having AI, if you just do it on the website, they figure it all out for you.
Correct.
And if you wanted to make sure that someone's working in your favor, you hire someone.
Or you just go through the form nice and slow. I mean, if you're working for someone, they may have a payroll department where you can sit down with them.
Yeah. So either you or a paid professional is going to understand this stuff, basically.
Just take your time. All the instructions are there.
Okay.
And if you're using our website to do the calculation, then that's steering you in the right way to go.
So for those of us who don't have a healthy trust government and our money, and how things are really being factored out, what would you say to that person who's like skeptical?
I would say, okay, I understand that. I get that a lot. I'm never going to say I don't understand why. I understand that. But you got to see where it stems from. I'm never going to say just jump into doing your taxes. It's easy, but we're on all social media platforms. You can watch our webinars. You can watch certain videos on our YouTube channels, our social media channels. Just familiarizing yourself with the right language and terms can also help relieve that anxiety and pressure. And then once you start learning some of the terms, then you have a conversation with your tax professional and make sure that they are doing what you need them to do best in your interests.
Yes.
And then at the end of the day, you can always try our software to do your taxes. It's open until October 15th.
Oh, okay.
You never have to hit submit. But if you hire someone and then you try to do it yourself and your numbers mimic their numbers, then you know that you have a better understanding of your personal taxes.
Now, I like that. So I hired someone that I've been in a business relationship with. They know, they filed for my businesses. They know my stuff. I can ask for my return and put the numbers that they put in into the website and see like their path of thinking.
Right. And then you just don't hit submit. It's just for you to go through the motions to see how comfortable you may be with doing it yourself or how trustworthy your tax professional is.
This is very helpful. So this is just for the IRS.
Yes.
But everybody also has to deal with their state.
Correct.
So I got W-2. What's the difference between a W-2 and a W-9?
A W-9 is for our individuals that are not citizens. Our I-9 forms and W-9s, those are normally for people that are not citizens. If you are a regular citizen working for someone, you are receiving a W-2. If you are self-employed or working in the gig economy, then you are probably receiving a 1099.
And a W-9?
No, a 1099 if you're self-employed.
Okay. All right. Okay. So
you fill out your W-9 so that you can request your ITIN number so that you can file your personal taxes.
So if someone hires you as an independent contractor, not an employee, what form do they give you?
They are normally giving you a 1099 depending on the agreement, because sometimes you may be getting shares or dividends. So it all depends on your agreement with that person, which is going to determine which form you are going to receive.
But the 1099 is what you get after you work. It's not what you get to like be onboarded.
But it all depends on how you are being onboarded, what your terms are between you and that person or corporation.
Okay.
I mean, it could just simply be a gentleman's handshake. It could be a simple contract of you work every Wednesday.
Got it. All right. So what are some of the common mistakes that you think people make? We talked about a couple of them, not going to the back page, not filing,
Right.
the psychology. What are some other things that we didn't talk about that you've seen in your practice?
I think another thing that stops people from filing, it's not so much an error, is just life and death. When we're dealing with death in our families, one, sometimes I'm not equipped to do the taxes. My parent always did it. My parent is no longer around. I'm just clueless, or my spouse does them and I have no idea even where to start. So that death plays a big part in why people either make a mistake because it's their first time doing it, or just don't file altogether because they're going through something extremely difficult. And then people are not aware of all of the credits that they are entitled to. They read the line item for the credit and then they say yes or no, and they don't actually look at the instructions or publication 17 to see what exactly that credit is entitled. And then they miss out on things that they may actually be entitled to because they just didn't understand the verbiage.
And where do we find publication 17?
So you can find it directly on our website. You can download it at any of your local offices. They will normally have a copy during filing season. And you can always pick up the phone and get help. And if you're not sure about a credit, we do have our interactive tax assistant right on our website. So if you go to irs.gov and in the search bar type in ITA, it will give you a list of topics. And normally each topic has 10 years worth of tax code building. So then you can just go there and, let's say, child tax credit or earned income credit. You select your tax year, you go through the series of questions, how many children you have, your income, and then it will tell you at the end, yes or no, whether you should be taking this credit.
Okay. Wow, I'm very grateful for having you here. I don't have any other questions, but I do have some homework to do. I have some work to do here. But before we sign off, are there any other points that you wanted to maybe bring up to people as we approach tax day for individuals? What about the refunds? Are the refunds coming on time for people?
Yes, they are. Yeah, I haven't heard any complaints about that. If you do not have all of your documentation, or you just are still looking for a tax professional or deciding whether to do it yourself, I would say you need to file your extension until October 15th if you are not going to get it in by April.
Okay.
Now, that will extend you more time to file, but not more time to pay, just more time to file. So you would go through your extension, and if you believe that you may owe, you can submit a voluntary payment at that time.
Okay.
And then if you are due a refund and you already made a payment, of course, that would be included in your refund.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, I don't have any other questions. Damon, do you have any other questions?
No, she broke it down. Oh, let me one quick question before you leave. For the young brother or sister who just got a little job, got their little W-2, first time. What do you suggest them to do?
try to do their taxes themselves.
Okay.
It's easy when you only have 2-3 lines
Right.
to get the
Right.
basic understanding. That's one of the problems. If you've never done it yourself, or you've always just let fear consume you, then you're never going to get the courage to just try it yourself.
Right.
I mean, no one wants the letter from us. Like you said, everyone's always scared we're going to come to their door. But the letter could just be, you made a mistake. This is on your own line. An easy, quick fix. But I would say definitely try it yourself. For low income, we do have low income clinics. It's our VITA sites,
Oh, this is
VITA,
good.
that can
Okay.
also do your taxes for you.
Low income clinics.
Yes, they're called VITA sites, VITA, and you can find a list directly on our website.
Okay,
So then
good.
you may want to try there. Most local libraries have a VITA site located inside, so you can always try there. Some of the big universities and colleges also offer some tax assistance. And yeah, I would say definitely try it yourself while your income is low and you don't have any deductions that you're really taking.
Okay.
For when your money grows, you'll know exactly what to do.
Right. Right.
Especially in the entertainment business. We see a lot of entertainers have problems with the Internal Revenue Service and they're trusting tax professionals. But if you're not checking or asking the right questions, then how would you know whether they're doing the right things?
Right.
Right. Right. Absolutely. 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 Like, there's so many stories with you see entertainers, man, getting robbed, you know, from their tax people, man. Like, that should be a crime. Like, it really should be a crime, you know,
Well,
on how to
technically you can report it at any level.
Right.
Small, big, it doesn't matter your income. If you are trusting someone to do your taxes or represent you, and you realize that they are a fraud or a scam, or they're not representing you in the best manner, you can always report that to the Internal Revenue Service, and then an investigation can be done.
Yeah, but I never heard anybody go to jail for it though. Like, you know,
I'm pretty sure.
I've heard artists tell the story, you know, but I never heard, you know, see no perp walk like this, you know, whatever accounting firm, you know, robbed, you know, these people or didn't pay. Because, you know, I mean, who was it? It was Steve Harvey when he told his story. And that his accountant died, and then when the wife called him when she went in the room, it was the stacks of checks he never sent to the IRS.
Oh my gosh!
Right?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. He never. It was stacks of checks. Like, he never sent it to the IRS, and then he had to pay like millions and millions of dollars.
Oh my God!
Yeah. Steve Harvey tells a story about that.
Terrible.
Yes. Yep. I'm pretty sure everyone has their court dates. We may not hear about it, but I'm pretty sure our investigation team is doing their due diligence. And even if we don't hear about it, sometimes we do have the power to take away their ability to file taxes or to represent in front of tax court. So there are more, you know, besides just going and impersonating people. There are fines, there are penalties. You can lose your license, which is then your livelihood. So there are multiple options that our investigation unit will take in those situations.
Wow.
Right.
I didn't hear this story. This is,
yeah,
but I could just imagine.
he tells about it.
You don't hear about it. I'm glad he spoke about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
there's a lot of them that speak about it.
Yeah. Wow.
And that's just comes from the uncertainty and fear of doing it yourself, or you pay, so you just trust
Right.
I paid this amount of money, so you should be doing what you're supposed to be doing.
And people don't. They just don't.
Right.
They just don't. And like you said, like regardless of what you paid and regardless of what they did, it's your name on the
Correct.
filing. It is your name and you owe.
Correct.
Right.
And you have
Right.
to justify those line items. Because like you said in the beginning, there was a time where you couldn't even get your accountant. So imagine if we're sending you letters to come represent yourself in front of an auditor and your accountant is nowhere to be found and you can't justify the numbers that are on your personal tax return or your business tax return.
Right.
Yeah. And a lesson I learned, if you pay somebody to do your taxes, make sure that they sign their name too.
Correct.
Instead of doing like some people will do your taxes and put that you did the taxes.
Right.
So
Yes.
I went through that and I wanted to like just kill this dude because I didn't know, and they was like, no, look, they was like, no, I got audited, ended up owing some money.
Right.
I paid it. I wasn't but when I went to somebody like, yo, like he was like, so you did your own taxes? I said, no, I didn't. He said, well, that guy got you because look what he put your name that it was done.
Wow.
Yeah, you got to be.
I've seen that before too.
Be. I tell people if they're not going to put their name on it, you better not go to them.
Right.
You know what? I've seen that sign. Like they would do it, and then they would tell me to sign.
Correct. So there are different levels which people don't understand. So you can have an accountant, you can have a CPA, an enrolled agent, a tax attorney. So there are levels to our tax pros. Some of them, they will put in their tax preparer number, which means they are just preparing. But at the end of the day, you still have to sign saying that you verified what they did. They are only signing saying that they prepared it based upon the information you gave them. And then you sign it saying, I reviewed it. And if you're going to sign, then it's going to come back to you.
This is so, exactly. Thumbs up because that is exactly how it goes down. And like I said, I have had a preparer prepare it, but I signed it. And now I understand that I am liable. And this actually makes me want to go on the website and tinker around and kind of try to learn things on my own. The thing is that most people don't have the luxury of time.
Correct.
To be able to do this, and that's why we pay. But convenience can kill you. You know what I mean? If you don't really understand what it is that you're forfeiting, which is your own agency about how you're filing your taxes.
Correct.
If you don't fully understand that, you really have to weigh what is more available to me in resources. Do I have time or do I have money?
Correct. And just like all of the events I do, most of the time you can find everything that Stakeholder Liaison is doing directly on our website at irs.gov. If you just type in events in the search bar, it will bring you to all 50 states. You pick whichever state you are in, and you can pretty much find certain events, maybe an hour, 2 hours. You can hop in, go there in person, actually speak to a live representative. And while we're still in filing season, April 26th, the Bronx office, which is 1200 Waters Place, and I believe our Harlem location are actually open that Saturday, first come, first serve. And some of the walk-in offices are still doing extended hours on Tuesdays and Thursday, where you won't need an appointment between 6:30 and 8:30. Or from 4:30 to 6.
I just want to encourage everyone to join with me. Like I have a mental emotional block with a lot of this stuff. And I just, want to talk about that just in case people find themselves, not quite sure. Maybe they're getting letters from the IRS. Just, face it. We are here. We are here too. I am here at least, like facing some of, my fears with filing, and make the time to advocate for yourself by educating yourself on some of these processes. And since we have the website and since we have AI, to Damon's earlier point, it's easier. Like, so instead of like looking at, the tax code, you can put in questions into artificial intelligence. You can put in your actual deductions, like use the technology to help yourself.
Yeah. Pretty much we build our website. We made it more user friendly. It's one of the bigger things that people have said that they couldn't find information before. So we are listening. We are trying to make the changes. Some changes are faster than others, but we have portals on all of our websites. Like I said, we are listed on all social media platforms. You can watch it, pause it at your own time. Like you said, while you're running around, just play it, listen to it, take your notes, and work on educating yourself. And then you'll build a more healthier relationship. I try to go out to schools in my job and speak to the youth before they learn it young. Because if taxes and certain codes are not spoken around you, it's hard to understand it when it's time for you to do it.
Absolutely. So I guess all of the socials are irs.gov, right?
It's irs.gov. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube. Yeah, exactly.
LinkedIn.
Exactly. You can find us. We post a lot. And that's because we have to hit all generations. Yeah. Some generations just prefer hard copy paper and they want to read the tax codes, and some generations they are just in and out. So we have to be able to reach everyone where they want us to meet them.
That's good.
Well,
No, that's just real good, and it's good that the IRS is on social media. Like, that's crazy. Like they're posting, they're posting, and people are liking the clicks and stuff. That's great. Like, I would never, this is the time that we're in. Like, even the IRS is on TikTok.
Right. Exactly. Most people aren't thinking that.
No, let me tell you, that's what government agencies should be. That's where the people are.
That's
right.
Exactly.
You gotta go. You have to go where they're at.
Right.
And if they need information, I'm gonna start following. Let's see how many followers they got.
Yeah, I started following on Instagram, and I see when they do stories, Damon.
Right. Right. We're making taxes fun.
Yeah. But,
is there a such thing?
There is. Yeah. Once you become more comfortable, you're more relaxed, then you're like, okay, it's not that bad. It's just getting over the hump and over the fear. That's where a lot of people need a bigger push.
Right.
So that's why I joined Stakeholder Liaison, to give them that push, and not like a fall down push, just a gentle nudge in the right direction. Make it fun, make it easy. I mean, you've seen me virtual and live do presentations. I try to make it interactive. I try so hard, especially because I know there's a phobia when I come in. There's a fear. And sometimes people don't ask questions because they just like, I don't want her in my business, so I'm not going to ask a question.
Okay.
Right. You only hurt yourself.
Exactly. We're going to get in your business anyway. It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Right. The easy way or the hard way? Which you want? Right. You want us in your business the easy way or the hard way?
But then sometimes after a while, I see certain faces, and then it's like, I have questions. And it's like, it's been 30 minutes and we're still talking, but it's fine.
So true.
It took them a while to warm up, to feel comfortable to ask the questions.
Right.
It's so true. I was at the office, and I met with Miss Durant, and she was like, "Oh, I'm going to bring in, Miss Miss Bonnet, and she's an auditor. And I was like, an auditor? No. So then Miss Bonnet came in and she was so pleasant. And it took a while for like my fear and my anxiety to go down to actually be honest and forthcoming with what was going on. And Miss Bonnet was lovely. And it's like, I'd rather have Miss Bonnet when I'm bringing myself there than Miss Bonnet call me to say, we're coming.
Right. That's one of the joys and benefit. You know, when you deal with me and I'm not the right person, I'm not going to steer you in the wrong direction. I'm not going to provide you an answer just because I think, oh, that may be the best answer. I have the whole agency behind me. So if I'm not the person to truly answer that question, I'm going to find the right department, the right person to answer those questions.
Right. No, and that's great. That's great. That's great. Now I think, you know, it's good. You know, I never had a fear. I've been audited once years ago, and I remember, man, I was like, I was like in my 20s. Like everybody at my job was going to this one guy in the Bronx, like all law enforcement. He was just going to one guy, you know, and you know, you go down there, man, you wait all day to see this dude, right? And he's in this basement and he's smoking a cigarette. And yeah, I remember it. It was like seeing like the mob, you know, seeing like a mob, right? And he's just sitting, the computer screen is facing him. You can see the screen in his glasses, and he's smoking his cigarette. He's like, you got a gun? Yeah.
A gun?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, law enforcement. Yeah.
You got that? Yeah. Then he gives you this little paper. You don't say anything. He just gives you this little paper. He says, how's that look? I don't know, man. I'm like, oh, word? Yeah, right. So, you know, go about your business. Then next thing, it was on the news that they hit him. The IRS, they hit him.
Oh, Lord. And
they were ordering law enforcement all over New York State. It was just hitting everybody. And I really got lucky. It was in the White Plains. I know I went to White Plains.
Okay.
And it was this older black guy with an afro. And he was just looking at me like, why am I even dealing with you? Like he was just like why? Like, why are we even bothering you, dude? Like you know, so he was like, all right. He was like, whatever is like 5,000. He said, I'm going to stop right there, brother. Because he said, I don't, he said, you see that stack right there? And I'm like, yeah. He said, those are millionaires and billionaires. And they got me dealing with you. And I want to get them. Right? I was like, oh, thank God. Thank God.
You're like, we agree, sir. We agree.
Exactly. And he was like, they come in here. Yo, he was really upset that he had to sit with me and do this when I guess he had all these big time dudes. He said, they come in here with their big time lawyers and their big time accountants. And he said, I slam them. I just slam them. I was like, yeah, power to the people, right? Let me get up out of here. Let me get up. I'm like, yo, let me get up out of here. Thank you, sir. Thank you. He said, yeah, we're going to get you set up whatever payment you got to do and da-da-da-da-da. I said, thank you, sir. Thank you. I got up out of there, man. But you
did the right thing. You answered the letter. You showed up. Mm-hmm. You were willing to answer the questions. What's the saying go? 90% of it is just showing up.
Exactly.
And people, they get the letters and they just put up a wall. They break down. They're just like, no, I'm not going. And then things are worse. I used to do auditing. I can only read what's on your tax return. I like how people think I have a crystal ball. I know where you were born, what time. And I'm like, some things we don't know. I just look at a number on a line. If you're not able to explain it, to justify it, then I have to remove it because you left me no choice. So I tell people all the time, just show up. That speaks volume. just showing up, providing an answer. And if you don't know, I'd rather you just say, I don't know. I don't remember. Can I come back? I need more documentation. I need more time. Or if you just don't feel comfortable, I want my accountant to come sit with me. I want to hire someone to come sit with me. That's all understandable. But when you just dodge us and avoid us, and then we're sending you letters and letters and letters and letters, that's when the collection process starts. And that's when we have to go above and beyond to then file liens and then file levies. And then that's when the fear grows. And this is why people have a fear, I believe, is because they hear the bad stories. You know, I got a lien, I got a levy. I know somebody that got arrested. And it's like, we didn't do that overnight. That's not even our goal. That's not what we want to do. Is you left us no choice. We're trying to find you. We're trying to contact you. We're trying to resolve it. We're trying to figure out a payment plan that is suitable for you. Or if you can't pay, what are the different options if you cannot pay? But we can't do that if you never answer us.
Oh, you know, I know we were closing out, but now I got another question. So you're laughing, right? So talk about that. Yeah, and I'm just telling my experience. So talk about the penalties, the fees and penalties when you take a payment plan, because I'm telling my own experience.
Right.
I call myself paying, you know, got a little extra money. I'm like, man, I'm gonna pay this off early. Right. And then like a month later, I got hit with another bill with
penalties
fees
and interest.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I was like, what? I was like, damn IRS, man. so explain that, you know, explain that, you know, and so people will understand, because I didn't understand. I paid it because I'm like, it is what it is, you know, but that took me because I thought I was doing my, you know, hey, I'm going to pay this thing off early. But then I still got hit with penalties and fees. Oh, did she freeze?
She might be frozen. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yolanda?
Me?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, we can hear you now. Yep.
All right.
All right.
So we have like failure to file penalties is when you will receive that penalty until you file your actual tax return. And that's just because you decided to file late. Then we have a failure to pay is when you file your tax return with an outstanding balance and you didn't pay it in full. And then of course we have interest. And if you are self-employed and you need to make quarterly payments, like estimated tax payments, but you didn't, then you can have an estimated tax penalty.
Okay.
That has nothing, it bases itself on your tax dollar due. Whatever you owe in taxes is how the penalties start getting calculated. It's a percentage. It's done on a quarterly basis. So as much as people don't like penalties and interest, it has nothing to do with the Internal Revenue Service. It's something that's mandated by Congress, and Congress tells us how much we can charge in penalties and interest. We are just adding it to the actual balance. So when you set up
I'll wait. Go ahead.
So when you set up your payment plan and you're making those payments, it goes first towards your principal, your tax. Then it goes towards any penalties. Then it goes towards your interest. That is actually how your payments are being applied. So when I tell people in your situation where you're looking at it and you go, this is how much I owe, I'm gonna make a payment, and then you get a letter, which most people do, and they're like, I thought I paid. The best thing to do is if you have an account set up online, you can schedule your payment down to the date. Therefore, the system will then calculate the penalties and interest. Or you can call and you can say, hey, I want to make a payment today. Can you give me the payoff amount as of today? Just as you would do for like any line of credit, your mortgage, a car
Right,
payment,
right,
you need
right.
to call and give them the date so that we can calculate the penalties
Okay.
and interest so that you don't get that letter that catches you off guard saying that you still have a balance.
Right.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well, I don't plan to
Don't plan on owing anytime soon.
No. Now some people they would owe, and then when they go to like someone that knows how to do taxes,
Mhm.
it ends up like let's say they owe 3,000 and then from last year, and then they do their taxes this year, and well, they owe from 2023, so they do their
Okay.
taxes for 2024, and then it balances out because whatever they were getting back, it minuses the money that they owed.
Correct.
Something like
So that is what we call a offset. So
Okay.
if you have a balance in a prior year, whether you have a payment plan or not, and you are due a refund, that refund will then be applied to that outstanding balance to try to
Right.
pay it off. Now, it's not even just a balance with the Internal Revenue Service. Most people forget the Internal Revenue Service falls under the Department of Treasury, which means we actually collect most federal debts. So if you owe a state, then that can also be offset and we can apply those funds and give them to the state if the state has alerted us that there is a balance.
Okay.
Other things that can be offset is, for example, child support, anything that is coming from a federal agency that has alerted the department that there is an outstanding balance that we need to collect, then those refunds can be offset.
I've been there too with the child support,
Mm-hmm.
but I had in my court documents that she gave me back in the court documents.
Mm-hmm.
I had to make a deal. My son was so bad back then. She tried to give me them. I was like, listen, I want my arrears, and so they took the money. I had to send the court papers.
Correct.
For them to give me my money back.
Correct.
Like I literally had to get the court settlement and said, no, y'all not supposed to have that. You're not supposed to. You're not
And
supposed
sometimes that's literally the case, or like sometimes maybe you're in a payment plan with your student loans, and for some reason it got alerted to the Internal Revenue Service that you owe. We don't know that you have an agreement. So sometimes it could just be as simple as calling up that other agency and saying, hey, this is the situation. And then, of course, if we are in the wrong, then those funds 100% will then be released back.
Yeah, they ended up sending me the check.
Yep.
I was like, it's the judge, signed by
See,
judge.
but you got your check. See, we're not that bad. If we're wrong, we're going to be like, okay, we're wrong, and we'll send you back your check.
I had to send it to the state. I had to send it everywhere. I was mailing that thing out everywhere. I was like, listen, man, y'all better give me my money, man. I went to court.
Right.
But it happens. It definitely happens. And I try to tell young brothers, man, like, do not get back behind on that child support, man, because you will never see anything.
And here's the thing, even if we offset your refund and for some reason you are truly having a hard time for whatever the reason may be, you can speak to the advocates. They may need documentation to prove your hardship, but then they can see whether or not maybe they can release a couple dollars from the refund to help you, or maybe the whole refund. But I tell people, one, you have to be able to speak to us, answer their questions. And if they look for documentation, you have to provide it. But it goes back to what I said before. People think we're just trying to be in their business, see what they have. And these are just our procedures. There's no way around it. We all have a job to do. We understand you may be going through something difficult and it may be hard for you to answer these questions and it may be dredging up emotions, but we're just trying to help you the best way we can. And without certain documentations, then our hands are tied.
No, that's great. No, that's great. I'm glad to see the IRS has a friendlier face than what is put out in the media and in the movies.
Right.
You know, well, like, and just so, stories that you hear that you hear from some people, and that's excellent. And that's excellent. And I'm glad people still got their jobs, no matter what they say in the media, and that I'm glad that you're helping people like that, because that's great. Right. Because a lot of people, especially a lot of young people, they don't know, because sometimes their parents don't know. So how are they gonna know? Because they're not working off the books or stuff like that. They so if a young kid is just trying to do the right thing, how is he gonna know? So that's a beautiful thing, man. And thank you for all the information that you give me today.
Absolutely. I mean, we do have our top 12 scams that we generate every year, and is directly on our website. It's called our Dirty Dozen. And it used to be the seniors were the biggest target, but now we're seeing that our youth is slowly creeping up to the same numbers as our seniors. And it's like you said, they are social media influencers that are saying, I went here, I did this, I can help you, I can get your refund. And they're just out here providing information to strangers through social media, not realizing that now their identity is compromised. So we try to keep up with the scams, educate people on the scam, so that you don't become victim of a scam. And if you are a victim of a scam, or your ID is just compromised, then you want to just make sure you do an IP PIN. And that is a 6-digit code that would be attached to your social security number. You will be mailed a new code every single year. Therefore, we know that tax return belongs to you. You filed it, and it is correct.
Okay. That's great. That's great. Well, thank you. Thank you, Tasha.
Thank you so much. And just knowing that, we did think about seniors being targeted with these scams, and now it's our young people. Like, all of this information that was said on this show, but also that last tidbit, it's a call to action. We need to pay more attention. We need to educate ourselves, and we need to look out for one another.
Correct. And we are in April, which is Financial Literacy Month.
Yeah.
And Small Business Week will be in May. So there will be a lot of events across the board happening. So if you're unsure, you're still a little nervous, just try to find an event, either virtual, in person, make yourself a little more comfortable.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. So we'll see you next time. And I hope you enjoy the rest of this day. And thank you again. And Damon, as always, love, love, love.
Yeah, we out of here. Have a Blacktastic Monday. We gone.
Are you ready to transform your life from the inside out? Join Tasha Young on Elevation Nation, your guide to total wellness and personal evolution. You are about to discover powerful strategies for healing across 7 essential dimensions: physical vitality, emotional balance, mental clarity, financial freedom, social connection, sexual wellness, and intellectual growth. This is more than self-help. It's self-elevation. Watch Elevation Nation with Tasha Young, exclusively on Black Westchester magazine, the news from the Black point of view. Your journey to wholeness starts now.